And good morning, everyone. I am Bill Knapik, sitting in for the star of The Price of Business, Mr. Kevin Price. So happy to be here, and we're glad you tuned into the show. Want to let you know that portions of the show are sponsored by Cornerstone Business Coaching and Corporate Memory Solutions. So that's going to be very exciting, and we're going to hear from both representatives of the company coming up later in the show. In the meantime, I am Bill Knapik, sitting in for Kevin Price, and you may know me from Real Estate Matters with Stuart Title. You can hear that at 1 o'clock on Saturdays on 100.7 FM, and you can also, on the same station, hear another great show, I think, because we always have interesting people like this show, called Successful Living with Bill Knapik at 10:30 on Saturday. And now, one of my favorite restaurants in Houston, or whenever I'm traveling, we have a representative, the general manager from the Palm Restaurant right here in Houston, Texas. He is Chad Lipson, general manager of the Palm Houston. Chad, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, it's early, but I'm always ready for a lobster and a New York strip. I don't know why. Tell everybody, it's always good food, right, Chad?
Absolutely. We always try to use the finest products anywhere at any time.
Well, let's tell people, many people, almost everyone knows about the Palm around the country, but let's give them an update. Sometimes they forget that the heritage of the Palm, I think, is so exciting and interesting. Tell people about when the Palm started to begin with, and then when the Houston Palm opened the doors.
Well, the Palm started in 1926. Two families came over, the Ganzis and the Bozzis, from Parma, Italy. Opened in 1926 in New York.
Unbelievable. And what a heritage. And then here in Houston, Texas, it is almost like, is it 40 years old that you've been here in Houston?
We've been in the same location, 6100 Westheimer Road in Houston, Texas, since 1978.
And what's interesting is I was just at the Palm last week, and I love how both menus are just so exciting. And I always attribute a great menu to is when you go to a place, you see something you want that particular day, whether it's for lunch or dinner, and then you see other things you want, and you say, hey, I want to come back again. I can't wait to get these other items. Tell us a little bit about the menu and some of the thinking that goes into your menu.
Well, we try to have a wide variety of menu items, and our lunch and dinner menu does differ slightly, although we do offer our great steaks and lobsters all day long. Our lunch menu really is built around great salads, great sandwiches, again, great steaks, and, again, our lobsters. And then also our Italian dishes, which one of my favorite is always going to be the chicken parm. I know for you it's always going to be the veal martini.
You got that? You know my ordering patterns, no doubt about it. And you started, Chad, where you mentioned the finest ingredients, and that is so important. I mean, the portion size. I don't know, as a restaurateur, how many things you must keep in mind as you serve each and every meal and greet each and every customer, but there's so much to keep a handle on. How do you do it?
Well, it comes down to the hospitality, and then it comes down to the food. Flying in our seafood fresh every day, our lobsters every day, sourcing the finest meat. It all comes down to just using the best ingredients.
Indeed. And give us a word about the customer service, how your philosophy is, not just at the Palm in Houston, but corporate-wise, what you all talk about as far as greeting and keeping through almost 100 years of service. What are the things that you keep in mind?
Hospitality. We want everyone to feel like their family when they come in. We want to treat everyone with the greatest hospitality possible, and that's one of the things that we really hire for, is great attitude, great hospitality, and customer service.
And as the general manager of really a famous restaurant, and I would assume you've been in the restaurant business for a while before you even got to the Palm, but what is it that being in this business that you love about?
I love the changes in everything that happens every day. New faces, new people, again, and the same people that do come in a couple times a week or a couple times a month. In the restaurant business, they're ever the same. And that's what keeps me excited and keeps me going.
Now, also, you must love good food, too, and it has to be fun to be around it all the time, right?
Working at the Palm definitely is a privilege, and the food is absolutely fantastic.
Now, when I would assume, but tell me if I'm wrong, as being part of the Palm Houston, the general manager, when to keep things sharp right here in town, do you go to other Palm restaurants? I mean, do other general managers, do you like travel around sometimes and check out what they're doing maybe in Las Vegas or Los Angeles? How does that work?
Part of the process when I came to the Palm is I went to about 6 different Palms and got to see their practice in each and every one. And I learned something from all of them, but every single Palm is all about food and hospitality, no matter if it's in New York, Orlando, Beverly Hills, or Houston.
Yes, and I'll tell you what, I have been to, I want to say probably about 5 other Palm restaurants at least, and I think it's fun as a business traveler. You go to these restaurants and you know what to expect consistency-wise on the food and the principles of hospitality. But in addition, it's always fun to see one of your favorite restaurants in another city.
I think you're right on that. And every Palm from Nova Scotia, we get our meat from the same purveyor. And we're also getting all of our seafood fresh 24 hours from the time it's caught.
Yeah, and no doubt about it. I want to point out 2 things. One, as I mentioned, the Palm in Las Vegas, it's been a while since I've been there, but you may appreciate this story. I'm guessing it's every bit of 15 years ago. I was in the Palm for dinner in Las Vegas, and I was with a large group, and it was a very busy night. And I bump into my chair behind me. It was Jim Martin at a Palm managers meeting way back when. It's like, hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah, Jim Martin, great man, opened up Houston Palm in 1978 as the general manager, and he's still our executive director today.
Yeah, and a great man. And I also want to point one last thing before we close the segment, Chad, and that is you mentioned lunch. The food is always excellent. I'm getting hungry as we talk, but also some of the great values. I mean, that lunch, I don't know if you call it the businessman's lunch or the business lunch. I think it's $26, but you get 3 items. You get an entree, you get the main course, and even a side dish, and then a dessert. That's unbelievable. Give us a word on that right quick.
You know, I do believe there's nothing better for me than coming in and having twin fillets for my entree for lunch on the business lunch, also a Caesar salad, and finishing off with a piece of New York cheesecake flown in from New York.
No doubt about it. Chad, tell people how they can learn more about the Palm.
www.thepalm.com. Follow us on Facebook. It's the Houston Palm. And also reach out, make reservations through 713-977-2544.
No doubt about it. And people can actually meet you, Chad Lipson, the general manager, and meet the famous Jim Martin, who opened the doors many years ago. Thank you, Chad. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to The Price of Business. We're going to take a short break and come right back with even more. Stay tuned.